Welcome to Raw Radio.
Last time, I was told that my We Are Live was weak. So let me do this one more time. That was a clap. We are live.
So when it sounds good, it's natural.
Okay. Take
You're,
two.
you're trying really hard to be Sean Williams, and it's not working out.
I cannot fill those shoes. There's
No.
no way.
So stop pretending. You're, and we're live. That's what you need to get back
Okay.
to.
All right. We'll do it again.
Don't fix what's not broken.
Okay. Is that what it is? Okay.
Yeah.
All right. How about we ask our audience? Hey, tell me which We Are Live you like the best. Okay. I'll do it one more time. Ready? And we are live.
Right. If they like we're live better, I'm quitting.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, official.
Yeah, right. I
It is
might have
official.
have
If you don't
buried
like, if
myself.
you do not like Gary on the show, just vote for the very deep We Are Live, and
Yeah.
there you go. Very easy
I'll quit.
exit.
I'm a man of my word. I'll get out of here. All right, but let's get back to why we're here.
Let's back to over here.
Or
Take
get to
away.
why we're here.
Yeah. Take away. This was deep.
Mm-hmm.
What did we talk to?
We talked to Dominyka and remarkable story from a very early age. This is a kid at 14. She's now 25 or 26, but at 14, she's competing in worlds in the adult divisions and winning. And throughout her belt career, is that the way you say it? But throughout her competition career, she's beating adults over and over and over again. And some would say that, and she talked about it a little bit on like her road to mastery, what those steps were and how she got there and all the things that led her to where she is today. So we decided mastery came up a couple times. And I think we wanted to discuss that a little bit more.
Yeah, what in your eyes or what in your mind mastery means? What's your, when somebody says that word, what would be your definition?
Well, it's funny because it literally just changed while we were, messing around here, goofing around. Prior, it was somebody who has all the knowledge of any particular subject. They know it all. And whether, or the knowledge of the subject or the physical activity of it, the capabilities, they've mastered it all. But then I started looking around as we were talking, and it's really more somebody who has a great comprehension of a subject. So if that's the definition that I'm going to go by, well then, Dominyka is a master. And so now I'm changing my opinion a little bit. And I think that mastery is more the journey a little bit, right? You get to a certain level of competence, but then you continue on the journey. It doesn't end. You haven't fulfilled it yet.
Yeah, and I think that's the interesting part behind all of this. First of all, I do have to agree with you. More we talk to these individuals, more with guests, and more of these conversations we are having, my mind is changing on some of these topics. It's very interesting to hear the views and perspectives of other people in business, in jiu-jitsu community, and having these, sometimes, unheard stories. So that's always very refreshing, at least in my eyes. But you're right about the mastery. In my mind, it's a sense of, accomplishment, if you will, on a specific topic, sense of confidence, maybe into something that something that you have achieved, something that you have maybe experienced. But I'm not sure if that means that you know it all. I think big part of being a master or mastering something is the fact that you have experienced it to the point where you can speak on it, that you can express your opinion. And often People might not agree with it. That's part
That's
of
all
it.
right. Yeah,
That's all
that's
right,
fine.
right? But I think having a confidence on speaking on that particular topic, it makes you it makes you in a sense of master of that particular area, I think. And some are larger than others, some are smaller than others, but if you are able to express your thoughts in an educated manner and collect them together and present evidence where you can convince people, or maybe not even convince, you can present this to a group of people. I think at that point you're becoming a representative of that topic.
Yeah, I think so. But does that mean you're a master of it? And who gives you that moniker? Is it, can you give it to yourself? Do other people put it upon you? And I think a big part of it, especially in the world, the jujitsu world, and the world that you and I live in, a really big part of it is accepting that you don't know it all. You have to accept that it's continuing, it's evolving. There's new things out there every day, and you need to keep up with it. You need to keep moving forward and progressing and evolving as well.
And that's something that Dominyka said. More you show up, bigger the problems get. And I think
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
that pivot point, it is so important when you talk about mastery, is to talk about this higher level of understanding, higher level of comprehension,
Hmm.
is the fact of, I actually know that I don't know everything.
Yeah.
Driving towards knowing a topic, whether jiu-jitsu or non-jiu-jitsu, whether we get specific on guard, grips, takedowns, whatever the case might be, driving towards that level of achievement, that's
Hmm.
one thing. But often once we achieve that level, we realize that there is so much more ahead of us.
Yeah.
And often we become more humble. We actually say, listen, I thought I knew a lot.
Yeah.
Maybe I do, but there is so much more ahead of us, or ahead of me, that I feel that there's much more yet to come, and there's a lot of work ahead of me, really, to continue that journey. Would you agree that the mastery goal or the mastery point is a moving target?
I think so, and especially when you referred to her statement, um, you would think it would be the opposite, right? You would think that, oh, you've mastered something and now it should all be getting easier. You should be beating everybody. You should be, there should be no technique that anybody knows that they could show you a new aspect of it. You should be able to shut everybody down. But no, everybody's moving along with you, right? And the competition's gonna get higher. The problem solving is going to get more difficult. Um, and you have to keep, like I said before, evolving and progressing in order, because guess what? Somewhere down the line, probably relatively soon, nobody's going to be thinking of you as a master anymore, because all these other people have moved on. They've, those problems that got harder as they became masters and kept trying to solve and kept trying to get to better themselves. If you don't do that too, they're going to pass you up.
Yeah, I think you touch on something really important, because in my mind, mastering something is not getting better than somebody else, is achieving a level of self-confidence and a level of knowledge internally related to myself that I have set for myself at some point. Um, excuse me. I think often we find, especially on the mats, we find ourselves in the positions where we compare ourselves. Oh, Bobby Joe right here, he started with me and now he's much better than me. I'm not as good as he, and maybe he has a different color belt or more stripes, whatever the case. Maybe he won some medals and I didn't, and maybe he's just tapping me out left and right. And it seems like we set this goal comparing ourselves to him or them, versus really focusing on what we are doing to improve ourselves. And this point of mastering something, it's becoming, actually going farther away of what we are doing, and is getting closer to what others are doing. So how is that really a mastering? I don't know.
Um, geez, I don't know. I think that, when you start comparing yourself to others, um, hey man, there's people that have far less knowledge than, put you on the spot here, than you when it comes to jujitsu. That could tap you out, right?
Oh,
For
hands
whatever
down.
reason. Yeah, absolutely. And there's people that are much lower rank than black belts that could go into a gym and perform excellent against every black belt in there, if not better than, quote unquote, submitting them, whatever it takes. So, I mean, where do you say the mastery really comes in? Um, it's undefinable. It's always moving. It's always changing. Um, and I think that, people put too much stress and emphasis on the other rather than being the best that they can possibly be for themselves in that moment, to continue. I just keep going back to progression. They to be better than what they were yesterday, in whatever discipline they choose, whether it's, art, martial art, painting, writing. It doesn't really matter, right? um, you just got to get better than you were, and at some point I think then you will find yourself mastering something.
Well, it's a art of self-expression, essentially, right? That's what Dominyka was talking about quite a bit, right? And comparing art itself, with jujitsu, and that topic right there was very interesting to see her perspective, or hear her perspective on
Mhm.
how they are different and what she thinks of each. So listen to the episode, because that was interesting. But one of the things that she mentioned, it's like a dance. It is a self-expression dance, is a set of movements that, yet they are creative at this any given time. At the same time, they are rehearsed from a previous experiences, which
Mhm.
gives you the knowledge and perspective of taking action and making decisions on the fly.
Yeah. Well, you got to
And
know you got to know the basics. You got to know the fundamentals. And I think that applies in jujitsu, and it also applies in music, or painting. You have to know the fundamentals
Mhm.
so that you can then build upon it, put yourself into it, abstract, and then become a master at it. And when it was funny when she talked about it being a dance, I thought it was like, yeah, that's true, but it's like you're in a dance and both of you want to lead, and nobody wants to give up who's in control. And just something I thought of when she compared it to that. But if you do not know the fundamentals, if you do not know the basics, you cannot push yourself to become better than you were. You might, it's a little convoluted, and you might be able to become a little bit better, but you'll never become a master at it. You've got to know as much as you possibly can to do what you were saying earlier, is to speak on it maybe with some confidence, to demonstrate it with confidence, not with being cocky about it, but with confidence.
Yeah, I think it all boils down to one point of this for me, is that, the recognition of that this is not end of the road. The
Yeah.
recognition there is so much ahead. The recognition, I have done this for X amount of time. I do think that I can represent this and relay that information, pass it on to others. But at the same time, I am looking forward to continue learning, right? What do they say? What's that quote? More you learn, less you know.
Yep. Yeah, for sure. Yeah. And I think
It
if you,
is.
well, I was just going to say, if you apply that, then I think you'll eventually become a master at something, because you won't, um, you're not going to go into it with a, like a pig-headed approach, and you're
Mhm,
not going to get stale, and you're not going to say, okay, now I know it all. And you're not going to be arrogant, I think, is
mhm.
a word I was trying to think of a little bit earlier. And when you have all those negative things out of the way, and you can kind of open up a little bit and receive information as much as you put out there, then you can really start becoming a master at something.
And I think you touched on something really important right now. A true master doesn't tell information, is actually very open minded to learn more.
Yeah, for sure.
It is the ability to listen to everybody in the room and being the last one to speak, in a sense. It is probably a huge characteristic of achieving the moment or the level of mastery in whichever discipline or skill you are seeking at that point of time. So if you're
Well
rolling in the
put.
mat, think about that. I mean, that's something to really think about, whether this is your first day or day 100, or you've been on the mat for 20 years. It really doesn't matter. You should be seeking that level of mastery. Just those probably will vary between you and your partner and everybody else on the mat. Think about what your goals are. Think about where you want to get, and more importantly, why you want to get there.
How'd
Just
you get so
something.
smart?
I do podcasts with this cool guy.
Really? You have 2 podcasts?
On that note, let me plug the second podcast that I've been doing.
Yeah. I bet that one's not as funny as this one. Yeah. I got nothing to add. It was well put, and I agree wholeheartedly.
Let's move on to the next one.
All right. Peace.
Thank you for listening to Raw Radio. If you enjoyed the show, don't forget to leave us a review and help us make the show even more amazing. For future episodes, check out our website and follow us on all major podcast platforms. Take care.